Today we read what is probably my favorite passage in all of the law of Moses. Theologians call it the Aaronic Blessing. Numbers chapter 6, verses 24 through 26. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. People of Israel had been camped at the foot of Mount Sinai for almost a year after leaving Egypt. They'd received God's commandments and his full law. They built the tabernacle according to his very specific instructions. Now, just before moving toward the promised land and going into battle, God commands the high priest Aaron to pronounce this blessing over his people. I never fail to be moved when I hear the blessing spoken. The truths contained in these two verses are a source of great comfort to me, and I pray these truths of God's blessing over you. First, God is the source of all blessing. Although often referred to as the Aaronic Blessing, this blessing was not written by any man. These words are God's words spoken through the priests to the people. God is a God who blesses. In fact, when God created Adam and Eve, the first thing he did was to bless them. And the last thing that Jesus did before returning to heaven was to bless his apostles. The Alpha, the Omega, the beginning and the end. Our God is the God who blesses his people. But more than that, God blesses you and I personally. 6 times this blessing is spoken over you, and each time it is in the singular form. Rather than blessing Israel corporately in these verses, the God of the universe blesses each one of us personally. In a crowd of more than 2 million, God saw each and every one of those Israelites, and God sees you. God knows you intimately, cares for you individually, and he blesses you personally. God bends down to bless us. The Hebrew word for bless, it means to kneel down or to bend down. Used metaphorically here, it shows that God bends down to give himself, and with that, all of his benefits. He's giving his faithfulness, his mercy, forgiveness, grace, love, comfort, his joy, hope, guidance, redemption, and so much more. Ephesians 1:3 tells us that we have every spiritual blessing through Jesus. God, he blesses as a father blesses his child. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you. What's that? It's the blessing of a father to his child. How can God lift up his countenance upon us if he's up in heaven and we're down here below? My first thought would be that God looks down upon us. But God lifts up his face upon you. Imagine him like a father lifting up his toddler in his arms, lifting his face upon you. Just as that father lifts up his beaming face to that child, God shines his full pleasure, his full goodwill, and his full joy over you, his child, and give you peace. God's blessing brings peace. Who doesn't want that? God's peace, it's more than the absence of struggle. The Hebrews use the word peace as their salutation, shalom. It stems from a word which means restoring back to the original state. God's peace, it's not just harmony, but it's completeness, it's wholeness, it's rest, it's safety. Shalom. In a world that is often hard and chaotic, God is bent down to bless you personally. The God of infinite benefits gives them to you today. And though the world may be filled with sorrow, God's joyful face is beaming upon you. My hope for you today is that you'll walk in the fullness of Father's extravagant blessing. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.